Right, we're on the next part of our shoot that we're doing on the Harley shoot, and I've got here with us Pieter Badenhorst, and I've got here with us Paula Zapata as well. They're both from Photo Hire and Cine Photo, and we're going to just be having a discussion talking about the industry and how you guys have found it. And obviously we're in COVID again, hence you can see the masks, and Peter's got his and everybody, and we're keeping our distance, and that's why we're also far away from each other. And I think just to start off with, maybe we can just sort of talk quickly about how things have gone over this time for you guys.
It's obviously been a very interesting period for everybody, and you know the big thing about something like this is that we're all in it together. It's not one industry; it's all industries, and it's actually a massive thing. South Africa, I think, is a lot different to anywhere else in the world, with a lot of restrictions that other people don't have. So I think there's a lot of people really struggling, you know, and I think a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and a lot of people are really lost their jobs, and a lot of people are going to move on to other things. Yeah, so I think you've been in the film and the photographic industry at the moment. It's going to be quite a interesting thing for the future, and where it's going, I don't think anybody knows, but we do know that everything's going towards streaming, and the way the whole industry is changing. Everybody's going to move more in-house. People aren't going to go to their businesses and work from there. They're going to work from home. So yeah, I mean it's interesting times.
Very much so. I mean, you know, well, obviously you've seen from us how things have changed as well. As a photographer, it really has been. And just dealing with people at the moment, are you finding there are different ways of doing things? I don't know.
Look, I mean, obviously the World Health Organization, all these guys in governments have come together, and they've made a basic guideline on how things should happen. So obviously it's the new normal.
Yeah.
It's social distancing. You know, every business, you've got to check temperatures, do all the different things. So it's first of all a lot more expenditure for companies who are struggling at the moment, and you've got to put all these things into making you compliant with all the COVID rules and everything. And it's interesting, and you know, I mean, what's quite strange is the other day we flew, and I had to sanitize my hands 6 times before I even got on the plane, you know, and it's getting quite a lot. But unfortunately, this is the situation we are in at the moment.
And I think, I mean, for Photo Hire and Cine Photo Tools, I mean, as a business, it's been a little bit difficult, but I think there's a great opportunity for creative people, and the ideas that we are there to support them. You know, at the moment, I mean, I think people have to change the way
of working,
Yes, of working. So I think from the business perspective, and from Photo Hire and Cine Photo Tools, that we're pretty much there. You know, like we're trying to support creative people, better rates.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're very lucky. We heavily invested in gear. We've got quite a range of lighting and cameras, studios, you know, and so from that point of view, we're very lucky. Obviously, investing in a lot of new technologies forward is going to be quite difficult.
Yeah.
So I think what Fuji is doing is very clever, making products that are very user-friendly, economical, compared to a lot of their competition. I think that's a big thing with their market that they aimed at is very clever, and they're not fighting in that 35mm full-frame sensor thing. And their cameras are very affordable and very good quality, you know. So. And just before COVID, we invested heavily in the Fuji brand. We got approached by Fuji to do the rental side of the camera side, and we embraced it straight. We jumped into it straight away, wholeheartedly, because the fact is that we knew it was good products, and value for money. There's nothing else out there. And look, obviously prices have gone up, so we were very lucky to get in before price change and all that type of thing. But the products are exceptional, you know, and we. From that point of view, Photo Hire is at the moment only rental, I think, in Cape Town that physically does Fuji cameras. And obviously we do the medium format side, and we do the X range, and which are amazing products.
And you guys do the full range. You do from stills through to video and film, and that's.
And I think you know, obviously a couple of years ago things changed in the whole market from stills, and me and you are more stills based. But all these cameras are amazing movie cameras, not just video cameras, movie cameras.
I had the opportunity to shoot with the XT3, so I do a lot of content for them, and I was actually blown away by but the quality that you get for such a small compact camera. And if you think about, I mean, the future, people are moving more towards small productions.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now where, you know, there's a limited amount of people could be, and then with a 4G camera you can shoot a 4K 50 frames per second. Like, you don't really get much if you're doing content for YouTube and not just basically for online. So it's amazing. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned about the smaller sets, the content being done with cheaper budgets, smaller sets, etc. So now obviously that's something that's going into season, which is coming up. When does it start? In September, I would say. So hopefully the world has opened up so people can actually fly here. Are you finding that you're going to come up with different offerings for that time?
Look, I mean, I think obviously a big thing about it is we're hoping that the flights can open, because obviously Cape Town is very seasonal, and when tourists will be allowed to visit Cape Town, because it doesn't just affect the film industry, which is a R1 billion business. It also affects the tourism industry. It affects the alcohol industry, the entertainment industry, and everything like that. So a big thing is to get us back to normal on the way of tourism and people getting into the country. But I think what's actually happened is, and I've always said this for years, is that South Africa's got a lot of talented people. South Africans aren't lazy. We're prepared to put in the long hours. We're always inquisitive. We like the new tech. We know how to operate the new tech. We've got all the stuff that anybody else in New York or London or Paris have got in Cape Town. And I think the big way forward is South Africans doing the productions for the international crews. So where you normally would have the clients and the art directors and everybody flying out, the hotels, the staying, the eating out, and all that type of thing, that can be done locally by the South African photographers with DOPs, directors, and all of it done through live streaming and the way it's going to go. And I think at the moment there's a lot of experimentation in that to get to the right point of where it's actually moving. But I think that slowly but surely, by the time this all starts happening, I think everything will be in place.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of opportunity in it as well. Just if you're having to keep your sets smaller, if you look at the LED lights, if you look at the systems, you know, you don't need to have a big Jenny running
completely
an LED system. You don't need a crew.
Especially in South Africa with all this ESCOM or load shedding
as well.
You know, we've gone through the load shedding, then we had the water, so we've had a couple of problems, and we've got through all that. And so I think a big thing about it is everything's gone more green. So it's not as hot anymore. So the model now, the model's not sweating as much. It's less power. You can run them off batteries. So we're starting to work around the whole transition to more green and stuff like that. And not just that, you don't have to, I mean, a big thing about it too in lighting is replacing bulbs. You know, bulbs got a certain amount of life. Now the LEDs can last for
a long time. Exactly. And I suppose the way you're promoting it as well now, for you're doing the PR side, you must be going to them and saying, look, we have the facilities to run smaller sets, we've got the equipment, we've got that. So you must also be changing the way you're doing things from a market or promotional perspective.
Yes, no, that's the idea, exactly. And we're there to support people, and getting ready for season and try and think differently.
You know, we're also open to, you know, there's a lot, what we've noticed is a bit of an uptick in, well, obviously business starting again and slowly but surely, is a lot more music videos, you know, that type of thing. And where the thing with that is that even though they're local artists or whatever, it's aimed at the international market. So we try, you know, everywhere you look, there's new markets and new markets you've got to create and things you've got to find. So I mean, with anything, if you look at what actually happened during this whole lockdown and COVID, is that people have to think differently to what they thought before. And I mean, you notice in what you're doing at the moment too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing things completely differently. You know, we're doing, and we've chatted about it, and I think people need to look at their businesses and run them differently. Smaller, more lean, utilize the services that you guys have. It's pointless, you know, I don't have a studio anymore, because why? Because you guys have got a flipping magnificent setup here. Why would I want to do it, because I can only maybe do 5 or 6 shoots, but if you've got 10 or 15 photographers who are utilizing you, you've got more chance of utilizing your studio more often. So I think we've got to think differently in all those things that we're doing.
I mean, I think also a big thing about technology and is that technology, if you remember the days of, you would have a camera and every 10 years they'd bring out their flagship.
Yeah.
Now cameras are changing every 3 years from a
flagship,
not the bottom of the range or whatever, it's the top of the range camera. That would be 10 years. Now it's 3 years. And if you look at something like computers, how quickly computers are changing and what they cost. I mean, the prices of the new Apple Mac is ridiculous. People can't afford these things anymore, and they change so quickly, and they change just by software, your inputs, USB, HDMI, and suddenly you don't have those things on your computer. Now you've got to get a new one, and so the technology is changing so quickly, so you can't really keep up. So from a rental point of view, it's much easier to come to us because we try to, obviously we're a rental company, we try to remain ahead of the curve in that.
But that must be a frightening thing to have to do from your guys' side. I mean, you guys are having to constantly be upgrading and doing that and changing, so
we are, but we've also realized there's the point of no return where basically the problem is that there's so many manufacturers bringing out so many different cameras that you can't keep all of them. And so then you've got to start, so you've got to start concentrating on a couple of core names and brands and stuff like that. So from our point of view, that's where Fuji ticked all the boxes. You got I think with the GFX also, it's an amazing,
incredible
video movie camera. I think it's the biggest sensor on the market at the moment for
video.
For video,
GFX,
and this is exactly what people are moving towards. It's not just a still photography. I mean, I've got photographers, friends of mine, that they actual client asks, can you do video as well? And they're like, no. Then they have to call someone, but you could possibly do both at the same time because this is what cameras are offering today. It's like that versatility of being.
One's got to be careful with that though. As a photographer, I'm also very, and something I want to bring across on the to you guys in who I'm chatting to in the Capture Guru side is, one's got to respect other people's trades and runs people's abilities. I can definitely shoot video and I can light, but then there's people who put a lot of time into learning their trade, and you don't suddenly just want to be able to, and also it minimizes, and I'm hearing a lot of guys doing it at the moment where they say, oh well, while we're doing it, we're quickly video. All you're doing is you're reducing the value of the product that you're actually selling, and we're getting to a point where we're diminishing the value to such an extent that people don't realize what it actually costs to put a video out.
If you look at something, I wouldn't say it's off the subject, but if you look at something like cell phones and where our cell phones are going, and a big thing about cell phones is it's always with you in your pocket, and that's why people use it all the time. Where the Fujis are nice, they're small, you can carry them with you, and it's not a big camera. But the big thing too is that at the end of the day, if you look at something like Germany and a photographer would study, get his degree, then he'd spend 2 or 3 years with a qualified photographer learning his trade. It's almost like it's an appy.
Yeah, I did it for 4 years.
Exactly. Yeah. The problem is what's happened in South Africa, there's no respect for that type of thing. And everybody's a photographer, everybody's this and that, but we all know not everybody's a photographer. There are photographers and people, my uncle owns a jewelry store and he gave me the job. But he's never used the camera. He's got a camera, but he's never used the camera. Now he starts phoning you and asking you how to light across a phone, where it's taken you 30 years to light.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing too. It's not become a mug's game, but it's almost becoming where you look in a lot of photographers now. Suddenly, what they're doing is they're painting, or I've got friends who used to do photography as an art form, and now they're painting as an art form because the market's easier. So the market's become a lot more difficult for photographers and videographers.
Because they also expect you sometimes, I'll say for behind the scenes, it's ideal you can do both at the same time, but when you are a professional photographer and they ask you to do it's a bit it takes time to set up. Sometimes the lighting you use is slightly different. Saying that, now you can do both. Using LED light, you can light for stills and video at the same time.
Yeah, look, it's a lot of change, and I think it's exciting as well. I think there's a lot of opportunities. When there's change, there's opportunity, and I'm a great believer in that.
Me
so
too.
I think one's just got to adapt and change. So I think, yeah, we're here now and showing what we've got to do, and it's great that you guys have allowed us to do the shoot here in your amazing facility. So you've got 3 studios, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got one here and then in town.
Yeah, 2 in town. Yeah.
So it must be nice for people who are coming from international or local photographers, knowing that the facilities are here, that you have a full lighting, cameras, studios, the whole lot. And I just want to say, just thank you so much for letting me shoot on my favorite things as well, apart from the cameras and the lighting side, the Broncolor.
Yes, look.
It is the ultimate, the Rolls. I've always been a Broncolor user, I've always had Broncolor. It is the new stuff is amazing.
Yeah. Look, I mean, obviously Sydney Photo Tools is a distributor for Broncolor in South Africa. Broncolor has been around for over 50 years, Swiss made, high quality lighting, reliability beyond compare. A big thing about Bron, people don't understand when they look at something where you look at something like the Scoro, the flagship of the Bron range. A big thing about it is people look at it and go, oh, it's this amount of money and it's expensive. But people have 7 or 8 cars in the same period that you still got the Bron pack.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's an investment, but it's an investment in your future. There's not much I can say about it. It's a perfect light.
I think the amazing thing is I've used it for so many years. I've had it for 30 years. I've had Broncolor gear, and unfortunately I've sort of moved away to the hiring side now, so where I rather hire and I use the Scorers when I need them or whatever. But I think what I noticed when I had Broncolor and we had our previous, where we had a lot of photographers under one roof, was the amazing how few people actually understand the full capabilities. And I think it's the same with the Fuji cameras, that if these things can do so much, that Broncolor, its capabilities are unbelievable.
I think, like with anything, is that you're using 1/20th of actually what you can do with it, you know. And advantage Bron has got over a lot of lighting is their bulb extrudes further out of the head, so their light shaping, I think, is a lot better.
Absolutely.
The quality of the light is
and the consistency of the light.
Yes,
the ability there that's what I've always loved about it.
A big thing about that is exactly from a retouching point of view, and that's what Bron is doing so well at the moment in the e-commerce side of things, where they're going into all the different big. Well, so basically what's happened is a lot of the big companies now, everything from the Pick and Pays, the Ackermans, the Fashini groups, the Pips, the Home Choice, all these have gone obviously online, and that's the future. And so what they've done is they've actually gone in-house, and by doing that they've had to get their own lighting and everything, and we're very lucky in that way that we've got quite big inroads into those markets, and that's exactly where you're shooting hundreds of products a day. And you shoot with other flashes and the color temperature is up and down. So now suddenly you go, oh cool, whatever, I'll sort it out in post. But that post can take days, and that costs money.
And that's not the way to work.
And that's the thing about Broncolor. You put the power up full or you pull it down. It's color consistency, and that's what Bron, without a doubt, is a leader.
Well, that's awesome. So it's great to know, and guys, for those of you who are coming in from overseas, who are watching this, local photographers here in Cape Town or Johannesburg, anywhere in South Africa, everything is here. It's the amazing facility that they've got. In Cape Town as a whole, when you arrive here, the crews, the people, they're willing to work, they've got the gear, they understand the work. I would say I think it's a fair thing to say, we've got some of the best crews in the world in this country.
I would agree on that.
So everything is here. So really, we need to make use and work together with these guys, with all these people in the industry. If we start working together, we're going to do a lot better. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me on the Capture Career episode. And it's been great fun having you and working in your amazing space.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.